Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. We've got a lot of SCOTUS news today. I can't wait to get into it. And I will do that with Jaco Booyens, Blaze TV contributor, and of course, founder of Jaco Booyens Ministries, who got the black memo.
Yes.
I mean, we're not going to a funeral. We're not grieving anyone. We just decided to wear black today.
We're serious. My favorite golfer of all time.
Yeah.
Gary Player, all black.
Really?
Yep, we're all black. Johnny Cash. I mean,
I'm not very serious, though.
No,
Maybe I'll try to be serious today.
Not.
We'll see what happens. So let's talk about all of these. The Supreme Court, all of a sudden, they've woken up. They've had this, it seems like forever, slumber of letting all of these rogue judges just wreak havoc with all of these nationwide injunctions to block the Trump agenda. You know, you saw the lawfare that was happening when President Trump was running. Well, that was nothing compared to the lawfare that happened after he became, elected and was inaugurated. And so you see this slew of decisions coming down from the nation's highest court, all within the last 24 hours. So you had just the latest today. SCOTUS ruled that the Trump administration can move forward with the termination of 16,000 probationary federal workers across 6 agencies because the lower court order had said, no, as the executive, the top executive of this country, you're not allowed to fire these people. You're not allowed to terminate them. You have to forcibly reinstate them as this lawsuit continues. The Supreme Court said not so fast. So the early signal out of the court, save for the, of course, I don't want to claim her, the Latina Sonia Sotomayor, who objected, was that these 9 NGOs that tried to stop President Trump from firing workers lack standing. So you got the rogue judges, the NGO heads, and they try as they might, Jaco, and they will. Mm-hmm. They cannot stop the president of the United States from hiring and firing employees in the executive branch. It's almost like this was total common sense, and we didn't need the highest court in the land to tell us that as the top executor and executive, he has the ability to hire and fire employees in the executive branch. Isn't that crazy?
You would think to pass the bar as a lawyer, you'd need to know the Constitution. Then to become a district judge, maybe you know a little bit more.
Yep.
And then a lower court judge, but apparently they don't know the Constitution. They live by this dream that they're the board of directors that tells the president what he can and cannot do. The commander-in-chief, the CEO, right? It is fun, though, to see finally, the rule be just. But what it makes me think about is how long have they gotten away with nonsense like this? Mm-hmm. Because I think about George Bush. I don't remember George W., going against lower courts. So it makes you think, how long has America actually been ruled by judges?
Right.
And not the executive branch.
Right. Yes. Well, judges who
corrupt judges,
yes. Left-wing activists,
non-American,
sure,
non-patriotic, judges.
Sure. So in this lower court that had said, no, you need to reinstate these people. You've got the rogue judge here, William Alsop, who once actually held up a pamphlet called Points of Rebellion, a book on left-wing judicial activism by William D. Douglas. So his intention here should be very clear based off of his personal history, because, you have these judges who cannot separate their activism, their radical activism, from doing the job, which is interpreting what is constitutional and what is not. So you at least have the Supreme Court, brief moment of sanity, I'll call it, for the Supreme Court on that issue. And then there were 2 more decisions that came down. This was yesterday. So SCOTUS actually handed down a rebuke of the unhinged Judge Boasberg. Of course, the high court paved the way for Trump to continue deporting foreign cartel members and designated terrorists. And that was yet another dodge, though, because in this one, which again, you watch this and you're like, yes, the president of the United States should obviously have the ability to remove illegal criminals from this country. And where he sends them, if he makes a deal to send them to somewhere else in some max security prison, who freaking cares? They need to be out of our country. That's just common sense. But the court ruled that the lawsuit was filed in the wrong jurisdiction. So hypothetically, 5 Venezuelan immigrants' lawyers can refile in different venues, like state level courts, to reapply for trials before deportation.
And they will.
When they will.
And they will file.
And they
will
will.
wait for precedent, and then they'll keep going. But again, this case, the first one, okay. This case for me is so egregious because you have immigration law. Mm-hmm. You have not just the president of the United States, but Border Patrol and ICE, which is HSI, can deport. The president is the pinnacle. Mm-hmm. So if they're able to block the president of the United States to hold true the laws of the land, which says you're a criminal, you're illegal. You don't even have to be a criminal to be deported. You just need to be illegal.
Right.
You don't even have to be MS-13.
Well, I mean, you are, my argument, you are a criminal yes. if you are illegal, because that was your crime.
Your crime is crossing illegally, but on top of it, you're a member of a designated crime syndicate. Yes. And
yes.
Now the president of the United States needs a defense on why they shouldn't be here. It shouldn't even escalate to the president of the United States. Just Tom Homan and just HSI, Christine Noem should just say, we have the legal right by the Constitution of the United States to deport these people.
Right.
So again, it makes me think, if they do this to a president, or they try to, you see how brazen the court system, how arrogant, how pompous they have become, to where law is not blind. They do rule by activism. They are activists on the bench, many of them. And they think they can take on a president because they believe they can. And a moment of sanity from SCOTUS to say, wait a second, this is too far. It's just interesting that it's so 1, 2, 3 on top of one another.
Yes. You know? Well, and so yesterday, I believe there were 2 different decisions. One was on the issue of this alleged MS-13 gang member who they wanted him specifically. They said there was a clerical error and he actually should not have been deported with it's not his fault that he has an MS-13 gang member tattoo. He was just mistaken for an MS-13 gang member. And so that decision was, no, this particular man does not need to come back to this country. No, we're not going to do that. And then the second one was, of course, that President Trump did have the ability to use the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to go ahead and ship these people out. And so you have this, there it is, the 5-4 was the decision.
Close, though. Too close, right?
Let's talk about that.
Can we?
Let's talk about that.
Please.
It was too close. So 5-4, and you have to be wondering, wait a second, I thought there were 6 conservatives on the Supreme Court. Well, you thought wrong, because Amy Coney Barrett tried to screw us again as she dissented in these rulings. And, you have to wonder what is going on with this particular justice, because you saw her at the Trump, what was it? It wasn't a State of the Union, but it was he was giving a speech. It was
a congressional address.
Thank you. Congressional address.
Yeah, to Congress.
And
felt like a State of the Union.
It basically was a State of the Union, but it wasn't.
But it was a congressional address, and she was there standing 4 or 5 feet from him, maybe,
shooting daggers out of her eyes at him.
Actually, pulled a face, and I looked at that and I realized this woman does not like this man. Forget that he's the president of the United States for a second. She has disdain for this human being. Who nominated her? Mm-hmm. You are a Supreme Court justice, albeit you should not have loyalty to anything other than to God and the Constitution. But the look she gave him, daggers is the right term. I mean, it was fire in her eyes for the president. And so the thing about her, we talked before the show, she is so hot and cold on constitutional issues even. 5-4, MS-13 member, illegal, criminal, should or should not be here. 5-4 is way too close. So even for me, a 6-3 would be too close. But I expect from...
Right. What are you going to expect? Yeah. Sotomayor and Ketanji Brown Jackson. Kagan.
Okay, yes. They are loyal to their factions. But Amy makes me nervous because so often, it comes down to where she could be a decider, right?
Yeah.
Between her and sometimes Roberts and,
I mean, who needs enemies with friends like these?
I mean,
it's so I think that the issue at hand here, my personal opinion, okay, I'd love to hear the viewers. You guys let us know in the comments what you think. What is behind Amy Coney Barrett's sudden departure from sanity and reason and the Constitution? Let us know what you think. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel as well and hit the thumbs up button. So my personal opinion is that when you add up the totality of all of the circumstances, when you add up the fact that she seemed to give President Trump a very rude welcome when he was there, I don't think it's a coincidence that she might rule reasonably on issues that do not affect President Trump. Yeah. But on these issues that are coming to the court that are President Trump's
directly related.
Yes, a directive that he has given that she can find issue with. It feels like she's going to find issue with it specifically because she has a problem with the person, not necessarily the issue.
But that's called a tainted view, right?
Yes.
And you don't want tainted view or preference.
Right.
In any court.
Right.
Any court.
Exactly.
Okay, even a district judge, never mind a lifetime appointed
highest court of the land
or justice. I want to substantiate what you're saying so that I want the viewers to know that you're not just, yes, it's your opinion, and it is our opinion, right? But there's proof in the pudding. I'll give you an example. Our current case we're involved with in the Supreme Court, which is considered one of the top cases, is age verification of pornography. Mm-hmm. That you need it, okay? Amy actually stepped up on that, but President Trump is not even remotely attached to that. She's a mother, and in those moments, you feel like, yes, okay, she goes. I have found that if President Trump is related at all, she's on the other side. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, calling balls and strikes here based on just the cases, you're pretty much going to find that if it is a President Trump case where normally it's some lower court judge going against him, right?
Yep.
She's on the side of these lower court judges, which is very concerning.
Very concerning.
Because my opinion, it's actually got nothing to do with President Trump. It's got to do with the law of the land. Yep. Yep. It's an illegal MS-13 member that should not be allowed to be here, no matter who's president.
Right. I mean, it's really treasonous behavior when you consider this lower court judge, had asked the justices to suspend a midnight deadline, a federal judge in Maryland set for the return. So they had this deadline. And this man, this specific MS-13 gang member that they keep saying, it was an administrative error. He's just an innocent father. No, actually, it was very clear from the court documents that this man was an MS-13 gang member, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He was deported last month to El Salvador, despite an immigration judge's 2019 order that he not be sent there because he could face prosecution. Oh, no.
2019, though.
Right, exactly. Oh, no, we're supposed to cover for illegal criminals because we're scared that they're going to get persecuted in their home country where they committed crimes because they're a freaking criminal. Show me where I'm supposed to care. And so he was clearly in the court documents. They had already vetted all of this. He was clearly a member of MS-13 in all of these statements of facts submitted before the court in this March 2025 court document, and he wanted to apply for asylum. And so you look at what are these judges trying to do because Trump broke them? What is it exactly? They want to give asylum to a known cartel member, to a known gang member because Orange Man bad. You want to destroy your country from within because Orange Man bad.
Because they were allowed to and encouraged to give asylum under the Biden administration. Yeah. They handed out asylum like Skittles. Everybody we were in Mexico following these cartels activities coming in. We had 29 trips to Mexico where NGOs like Catholic Relief Mission were training them to claim for asylum, discarding their IDs at the border, picking up a different name, saying they're from Guatemala, but they're from El Salvador. They're from Mexico, but they're from Honduras. Mm-hmm. Because the Biden administration gave these judges all the air cover to hand out asylum. Yeah, like crazy. And now they want to continue par for the course, right? And Trump's saying, no.
Well, you're right. there's a new sheriff in town, which we've got a stark contrast from the situation that we were living in not so long ago that Jaco's talking about. And DHS now is going to enforce a law that will allow them to fine illegal aliens up to $998 a day for failing to self-deport from the United States. This is a 1996 law that also allows them to seize property for non-payment.
Hey, you know how cool it would be if you find all of MS-13 and then you start seizing property. I don't think Americans, if I could just say this real quick, I don't think Americans really understand when we say foreign terrorist organizations. I think they're domestic terrorists because they're here, right? Okay. But MS-13, this is not like, let's have a gang, take our motorcycles and go ride and just wear a jacket. We're talking about rape, torture, death by meth, fentanyl, cocaine, property theft, armed robbery. We're talking about taking over neighborhoods. MS-13 is known as one of the most violent gangs on the earth. So we're not talking about here just, he's in a gang, he's got a tattoo. Right. He's
just an innocent father, though, other than that. Yeah.
It's just
not a motorcycle club.
Got a fort. No, we're talking about people that hate Americans, that look at Americans on how they can financially profit. So fine them, and if they don't pay, seize all their assets. Another thing Americans don't know is how organized they are. They've got unbelievable resources in this country. Homes, cars, ammunition, seize it all.
Yeah. Well, them and, all of the other illegals who came in under the Biden administration, just, you know what, find them all. Because you could load up CBP home and you could just go ahead and tell us your intention to self-deport and you can just leave. And if you leave, you might have a chance at coming back. And if you don't, you're going to get fined, you're going to get found, and you're going to get gone. Okay. So, all right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We will be back with more. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Mobile. So Patriot Mobile I love when you're on and I get to talk about Patriot Mobile. Jaco and I know the founders of Patriot Mobile very well.
Patriot Mobile phone.
Yes. And
my service.
And you can tell them, like I do, the service, you're going to get the same nationwide service, nationwide coverage. People get so scared to change. Everyone shares the same towers now.
You know what I realized? I said to someone the other day, well, I love Glenn and Jenny's story.
Yeah, they're great.
They are patriots.
Yes.
They love God. They love country. They give back. They've literally helped us rescue children, American children, from human trafficking. Okay, so their dollar goes into this country. So you don't worry about, are you funding Planned Parenthood or whatever else. But the other thing that's cool is I've got no worries about my cell phone service.
Right. And you're everywhere, by the way. You're everywhere.
Everywhere. Okay. I mean, I didn't have problems in Africa.
Right. Wow.
With my Patriot Mobile service.
Wow.
I didn't have problems in Israel.
Wow.
With my Patriot Mobile service. The customer service is incredible.
It is. And it's in America, by the way.
And when you talk to people, it's in America.
You can understand them when they answer the phone.
When you talk to people, they're kind. They know our mission. They're on brand for this country.
Yes.
They support this president.
Exactly right. And they really are. They're putting their money where their mouth is. So they are helping. They've been instrumental with Jaco at the border fighting sex trafficking. They've been instrumental. I mean, any sort of grassroots conservative, like anything that they have, fundraiser,
flipping
Patriot Mobile, yes, flipping school boards. Patriot Mobile is there helping, donating their time, donating, all sorts of things you can think of to help make this country more conservative and return to our founding principles. So go check them out. Odds are they're going to save you some money as well. PatriotMobile.com/Sarah. Get a free month of service with promo code Sarah. That is PatriotMobile.com/Sarah. I don't think that it can be overstated how casually racist the Democrat Party is. I really don't. And I think that so often we just expect it from them that we just kind of overlook it and we dismiss their comments as just like, oh, well, that's just the Democrats being crazy Democrats. But really, I think it's important that we acknowledge that this goes completely, is total racism goes completely unchecked in all of these progressive circles that they find themselves in. And I think let's just go ahead and visit some of these casually racist comments that these people, without self-awareness, they lack self-awareness to understand, like, oh, hey, maybe this is really racist and I shouldn't say it. So let's start with MSNBC contributor Eddie Glaude, who says, just 78 million Americans would rather destroy the republic than, here are the choices, destroy the republic or elect a black woman. And they're so racist, they chose to destroy the republic. Watch.
Have to grapple with it. Because it's the snake, it's the beast coiled up in the heart, the bosom of the country, as Frederick Douglass said. And the fact that they are doubling down on this shows you what kind of human beings they actually are.
Say more.
We chose a felon who is more interested in loyalty, who's more interested in retribution, who's more interested in grift, than in democracy. And we chose a felon because we didn't want to elect a black woman. So to read that, to actually explicate that, is to say we would rather destroy the republic than for that to have happened. And until we grapple with it, there's no amount of protesting
so
I could do.
Is he auditioning
There's
for
no
a
amount
role in a
of
Lifetime
resistance
movie?
that could come into play to actually force 78 million people to grapple with what motivated
How
them
many
to
times
put
does he use the term
themselves
grapple? Is that
in this
that's the
position.
buzzword? That's the buzzword for today. Grapple. How many times can we use the word grapple? I mean, or alternative theory, 78 million Americans didn't vote for the black woman because she's abysmally retarded and was destroying the country already as vice president. Could be, I don't know. Call me crazy.
78 million didn't see skin color. 78 million saw cackling Kamala, saw 3 brain cells, 2 not working. 78 million people saw someone who looks halfway drunk and intoxicated on the stage, who 78 million people knew she couldn't run a lemonade stand, who those 78 million people don't look at color, but you do, sir. You look through the lens of color, like Louis Farrakhan and Jeremiah Wright and Jesse Jackson, probably your great Pumbaa forefathers. No, I mean, it is so racist. Those who talk about race are the ones who look at a situation through a racial lens. No, we did not vote for Kamala because of her skin tone.
And why would you vote for her because of her skin tone?
Or for anybody because of skin tone.
I mean,
it's about competency and character. But remember, this is the DEI movement.
Right.
This is the reparations movement. This is the affirmative action movement. Give it to me because of my skin color.
Yeah.
So who's racist?
I would say not the 78 million Americans who decided that they didn't want the open borders, high inflation, just highly regulated. I could go on. Probably the 78 million Americans who decided that they didn't want those things and paid no attention to that woman's skin color, but did pay attention to the fact that she is really, really dumb and really bad at this. I don't think they're the racist ones. So you've got the Jesse Jacksons and the Al Sharptons of the world and that clown, what I already forgot his name. And you've got them who obviously they are black. And so they feel like they can talk to you from this air of superiority because of their skin color. But then you also have this other kind of leftist, which is, of course, the superior white leftist who feels like they can tell black Republicans, black conservatives, how wrong they are as a white person who knows better than you, dummy, is really what it sounds like to me. So I want to play another one that happened this week. Representative Byron Donalds trying to have a conversation with voters, and he was heckled and shouted over and accused of being a race traitor by, of course, a white leftist. Watch.
Do you agree as a member? Hang on, I'm sorry, ma'am. But as a member of Congress, because I was just in D.C. on Monday for Trans-State Visibility, and I would like you, as a member of Congress, to rise up and support LGBTQ plus youth and stop this insane attack on our children who know who they are.
She's wearing an Abolish ICE shirt.
Number one, no. Of course you're not, because you're a fascist. You're a trace. You're a race traitor and you're a fascist.
And a fascist. A race traitor and a fascist.
And I answered you.
I said I don't agree. And then you start yelling at me. You call me a fascist. You call me a race traitor. And you want me
These
to
women
agree
are
with
so
you?
insufferable. I don't know if I can get through this.
Ma'am, I'm a constitutional. I believe in freedom and liberty for everybody. I believe in the U.S. Constitution.
supported
But if
the
I don't agree,
election?
but hold on.
Is that why you
But
supported
I don't
the
agree with
insurrection?
you, then all of a
Because
sudden.
you are-
Okay, I can't.
That's right. He just nailed it there.
Yes.
She said, I need you to support my agenda.
Yeah.
And my agenda is I am confused. I don't know if I'm a man or a woman or a dolphin. And my kids know who they are. No, they don't, man, because you're superimposing your sick, demented ideologies onto your children. And if you don't agree with me, then you've just lost your blackness. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden you're a race traitor. Mm-hmm. A black man standing in front of her who says, I'm a constitutionalist. He's a man of God, by the way. He's a conservative. You don't fit the part that we've painted for you, sir. You've forgotten that you're black. Be more black, right? Because we decided this is a woman who wants to come sit Karen moral high ground. Right?
Well, where would those silly black people be if it weren't for all of these white leftists telling them how oppressed they are?
Correct.
And telling them how to think and how to feel, and that they can't leave from the government teat or else they're race traitors?
Again,
Where
who's
would
the
they be?
racist now?
Right.
What do you mean? You're a black man and you picked yourself up and you made something of your life and you got your own mind?
Yeah.
You're not hive mind. You're thinking for yourself?
You're not supposed to do that.
You can't do that. You can't run for governor.
You're supposed to be so dumb you can't know how to get an ID.
Come on.
Yes, that's what you're supposed to be. And so I want to let's play. Let me give you the kicker here. Okay. Good friend of the program, Representative Jasmine Crockett, who honestly, my jaw hit the floor when I watched this. Again, I mentioned the lack of self-awareness with these people, that they don't even understand what they're saying as the words are coming out of their mouth, how incredibly racist it is. She was talking to a bunch of voters and said, we done picking cottons, because I guess it's like the brown people's job now. Watch.
So I had to go around the country and educate people about
This girl.
what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a
She
country
needs
of
to fix her
immigrants.
weave.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands.
She thinks it's cute.
Like, what is this girl saying?
You're not. We done picking cotton.
Oh my gosh.
We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
Okay, so we were picking cotton when we were slaves, but we're done picking cotton because we're better than the illegals, and we've got a new form of slaves to come in and pick our cotton, is all that I can take from that remark. That's all that I am forced to unpack from that remark is we're not the slaves anymore. We have the slaves now, but it ain't us because we done picking cotton.
Was this girl born like longer than 40 weeks ago? This girl was born probably in 1998. Okay. Picking cotton. I'm telling you, that's the rhetoric. If you ever go look at
She's 44.
again, a Jeremiah Wright.
1981.
Well, she should know that she had never picked cotton in her life.
1981.
Okay, ever. And
Yeah,
you don't
we know
pick
that.
cotton by hands.
She also was she grew up very
There's a
comfortably.
new slave in town, right? It's the migrant. Mm-hmm. It's the migrant slave. It's the migrant worker. It's the brown people. We're
So
no
it was
longer the
it was
slaves.
bad when we were the slaves, but it's okay to
them to
usher
be the
in
slave.
a brand new form of slavery with these other people because they're not us.
And look,
So racist.
unbelievably racist, but I think you nailed it earlier. The self-awareness, the lack of self-awareness. Actually, there's no care to have self-awareness, which means there's really no self-dignity. There's no self-dignity. There's nothing. You know, there's an interesting scripture in the Bible that always rings out to me. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. We're not talking about narcissism, but if you don't have dignity and you don't love yourself truly, and you're not set on your core values and your ways and your real own belief systems, you cannot love. You cannot love. They don't love. Yeah. It's all me, me, me. We used to be the slaves. We're done. You want to be a farmer right now? No, it's their job. Let the migrants come in and work the fields. Let the migrants come in. That is unbelievably racist.
They can't pay us enough. Go pay them minimum wage. I mean, I was just like, oh my gosh, girl, you have no idea.
Why is there not an outcry, about this? There's never an outcry because racism in this country, and I'm from South Africa, okay? And you see what Donald Trump's doing now, helping us in South Africa. Elon's doing it. No. Racism is only when white people oppress black people. Nonsense. Racism is a heart condition, okay? No, you can't be, if you're black, you can't be racist. Excuse me? You just saw one.
Right.
You just saw what it looks like.
Yes, of course. And to your point, these people are not empowered, these people are not empowering minorities.
No.
They don't care. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter if you're Jasmine Crockett. It doesn't matter if you're Al Sharpton. It doesn't matter if you're Jesse Jackson. It doesn't matter if you're Yahoo from MSNBC, whose name I've already forgotten. It doesn't matter. All of these people, even though if they're black, white, whatever, if they are a leftist, they don't care about empowering minorities. They are just interested in controlling them. Because if you don't stay in line, they're going to come after you as well. 100%. And that's the point.
Who got hurt? Who was hurt most? Which community was hurt most in Black Lives Matter?
The black community.
Black community.
Which community is there are studies done on this. Okay, yes. Which community historically has been hurt the most when illegals come over and take low-paying jobs for even less money?
The black community.
Mm-hmm. So they're just damaging the black community more, but they don't care as long as you vote for the Democrats in all of the elections and you vote for that, conflict of interest, because they're like, we'll give you a government handout if you vote for us. Right.
Got to put you on a government team.
And we promise things are going to get better for you. And you know what? A real shocker. It never does. All right. We've got to take another quick break. We'll be back with more, but I want to thank our sponsor this segment, Lean from Brickhouse Nutrition. So if you guys are struggling to lose weight, I just got to tell you, don't do the yo-yo thing. Don't yo-yo diet. It's actually dangerous, and studies show that it can increase your risk of heart attack, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and other health problems. And lean is kind of the reason that was created, was breaking free of that yo-yo diet pattern. And by the way, I'm not a big fan of the injections that people are talking about. And they're like, oh, I need to lose 10 pounds. I'm just going to do an injection. This is an all natural supplement. They've got all these natural ingredients that target weight loss in 3 powerful ways. It helps maintain healthy blood sugar. It helps control appetite and cravings, and it helps burn fat by converting fat into energy. So go try it. Like I said, I'm very picky about products that I use or products that I work with. And all of these products and these ingredients check out for me. So go check them out. I can get you started with 20% off when you enter Sarah20 at takelean.com. That is code Sarah20 at takelean.com. So let's travel back in our time machine not so long ago to the Biden years when the media and the DOJ told us the biggest threat to America was, of course, MAGA extremists, parents at school board meetings. Those are domestic terrorists, Catholics, Trump voters, basically anyone in a red hat. If you were wearing a hat that was red instead of black right now, you would be a domestic terrorist. Now, I wouldn't even have to say MAGA. No. Just the red would make you a big problem in society. And a new report shows just how wrong those reports are. There was a survey from the Network of Contagion Research Institute in partnership with Rutgers University's Social Perception Lab that finds a broader assassination culture appears to be emerging within segments of the U.S. public on the extreme left, with expanding targets now including figures such as Donald Trump.
Wow.
So 55% of self-identified leftists say it's okay to assassinate President Trump. Now, I know that, the most strident assassination proponents were found to have a very strong left-wing ideation, which is not really a shocker there. And, when you dig into this report, it says murder justification, 31% and 38% of respondents stated it would be at least somewhat justified to murder Elon Musk and President Trump, respectively. These effects were largely driven by respondents that self-identified as left of center, with 48% and 55% at least somewhat justifying murder. How do you somewhat justify murder? Is what I want to know. Somewhat justifying murder for Elon Musk and President Trump, respectively, indicating significantly higher justification for violence against these figures. Nearly 40% of respondents stated it is at least somewhat acceptable to destroy or more to destroy a Tesla dealership in protest. So property destruction, totally fine because it's in protest, right? It's just a peaceful protest. I mean, it's mostly peaceful. Don't worry about the fire burning behind us. And then these beliefs are highly correlated with one another, as well as with the justification of the murder of United Healthcare CEO and hyperpartisan left-wing ideology.
So it's okay to be somewhat against the Constitution. It's okay to be somewhat against God. It's okay to be somewhat against this nation, be somewhat non-patriotic, be somewhat treasonous, be somewhat of a murderer.
Yeah, be somewhat murderous is what I'm like. What? How do you somewhat?
Doesn't that line up with,
murder?
I think I'm a man, but not a man, but maybe a woman, but maybe not sure. Not me, though. I'm speaking about them, right? This is their whole universe.
Yep.
Is milquetoast. Their whole universe is an indecision, is in...
The ends justify the means.
100%.
And that's
it depends
down to.
on what's the ends. The ends is this. Yeah, then somewhat.
Yeah.
What kind of a questionnaire is that? Number one. Is murder right or wrong? No.
Well,
Is murder somewhat
right?
Well,
what are the details in the murder? I need to know more.
No, it's more about, well, how do I feel today?
Right.
Like, well, which group would I be joining?
Right. Well, so to that point,
it's a sickness.
It is a sickness.
Bring back the insane asylums in this country.
And yes, it is a sickness, including with Ryan Routh, who was, of course, President Trump's second assassination attempt. And newly released court documents show how serious he was about trying to stop Trump by killing him. He tried to buy a rocket launcher from Ukraine. He said, send me an RPG or Stinger and I will see what we can do. Trump is not good for Ukraine. Now, this guy was crazy, but he did have a really long criminal record. He had all these ties to extremist causes. We talked about them whenever all this came up. He had a political motive. He supported Joe Biden. He posted all these pro-Ukraine rants, and he wrote a book asking Iran, please assassinate President Trump, well, then the ex-president. And so he didn't even stop there after he tried to kill Trump. Remember, he wrote this letter that was uncovered by someone who was like, oh, he gave me this letter just in case he got arrested and ended up on the news. I'm sorry I failed you. I tried my best. And he offered $150,000 to whoever could finish his job. I shouldn't laugh at this. It's just like some people are so crazy.
Deranged.
Some people are just so incredibly crazy. And you just have to think about the fact that if this had been a Trump voter targeting Joe Biden, and they had gone to Russia and said, can you please give me an RPG or a Stinger?
First inkling of them, even it would be over. Public
1000%
done. Then that's why I say it is sick. I'm just resulting now to the point where they're just not in love with this country. You remember, you will not defend what you don't know, and you cannot love what you're not willing to defend. And so they don't love America. They hate America. They hate the American way. They hate the Constitution. They're just not brave enough to say it outright. They'll just chip away at it through corrupt judges and undermining the law, but they hate America. They hate freedom for all. They want a hierarchy. They want a class. They just want to be the hierarchy.
Right.
They want to be the decision makers. They want to be the women telling Byron Donalds that you can't do this because you're not black enough or you're not behaving like you should. Should I remind you of slavery? How dare you be free?
Right.
So it's sick. It's just funny asking Joe Biden, could we please send money to Ukraine so I can go buy a rocket?
He was like,
it's probably an American rocket.
He was like, listen, rockets get lost all the time when we send weapons to other countries. No one's going to miss one puny little RPG. Can you just spare
we
one?
We laugh about it, right? But
I mean, I have to.
But we should laugh, otherwise you'd cry. But
right.
But then we want to argue whether an MS-13 member should stay or not. It's the same group of people.
Right. And now I will say, I know that there are other members of the alternative media who are trying to connect this directly to, Zelensky, saying Zelensky should have warned the United States. We don't have details on exactly who Ryan Routh was talking to in Ukraine. So we don't really know if the government was involved or if the government in Ukraine didn't do its due diligence to warn anyone. We don't really know that yet, although it wouldn't surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
So That's where I'm going to leave that. All right, let's go ahead and take another quick break. We will be back with more. I can't wait to talk about this topic with you, Jaco. And I'm just going to go ahead and warn you guys, we may get cut off of YouTube. It's going to be one of those topics.
Come on.
We're going to talk about the flu vaccine.
Oh.
So if we do lose you, make sure to check us out over at blazetv.com/Sarah. You can save some moolah if you use the promo code Sarah. That's just code for money. Promo code Sarah over at blazetv.com/Sarah. So I want to thank our sponsor this segment, Angel Studios. They are cranking out the hits. Their latest is, of course, King of Kings. And so this is, it's basically like, I believe it's Charles Dickens telling his son the story of the Bible, the story of Jesus. And the son it's all animated. And so the son is, imagining walking alongside Jesus, witnessing his miracles, and of course, understanding his ultimate sacrifice. It's got a high profile cast of voices. They've got Pierce Brosnan. They've got Ben Kingsley, Uma Thurman, Forrest Whitaker. And it's a good Easter family film if you guys want to check out the showtimes. It's in theaters this Friday, April 11th. You can get your tickets at angel.com/Sarah. That is angel.com/Sarah. Well, the Cleveland Clinic, let me repeat myself. The Cleveland Clinic just dropped a bombshell. This season's flu shot may not only be useless, it might actually increase your risk of getting the flu. This should be known by literally anyone who has ever paid attention to all of those mobile flu shot trucks who go to people's workplaces and everyone gets the flu shot and then all of a sudden everyone is sick the following week. Yeah, that was a shot that did that to you. Just my personal opinion. But let's go back to that study. It was a study that tracked over 53,000 healthcare workers during the 2024-25 flu season, and the vaccinated were 27% more likely to get infected with the flu than the unvaccinated. Now, researchers used time-dependent tracking, rigorous controls, and lab-confirmed flu tests. This wasn't, for all that people want to say, this was, for me, I'm a conspiracy. Sara Gonzales is just a conspiracy theorist. You have no science to back it up. Well, this wasn't just someone's personal anecdotes. This wasn't like a sloppy data set. This was clean, real world results and data. The vaccine had a negative effectiveness rate. It didn't just fail. It was associated with more flu cases. And the average age in this was 42. So it's not like this was a high risk group that may have been more prone to contracting the flu in the first place. These were mostly healthy working professionals. And the results held up even after adjusting for testing rates and job type. Now, I could go on about the fact that if you look back at these flu shots, they can only do a look back because there's no way to predict what strain of the flu is going to be prevalent in any given year. So they can only guess. And then when they guess, they can go and take a look back. And typically the look back is, this year's flu shot only had an 18% efficacy rate. This year's flu shot only had a 10% efficacy rate. So it's not working and it's making you guys sick. So stop getting it. Please don't trust me. Trust the Cleveland Clinic. Trust literally anyone who is commenting on these stories on social media where you will read comment after comment after comment saying, this happened to me. The last time I got the flu was 1996, and that was the last year that I took a flu shot. And then you look at the cash cow that this has become for big pharmaceutical, the big pharma industrial complex, and for Walgreens, CVS, all of these places where it's like, you got to get your flu shot. Come on in. We'll have the pharmacist give you one right here and you can just get it and leave just the same day. And yet it is making people sick. It is a racket. It is not working. So don't take my personal opinion. Don't take Sara Gonzales' opinion. Listen to the Cleveland Clinic. You could get sick. Don't take it.
It is a racketeering scam. It is a racket. You just said it, right? Think of the notion. Let me give you flu, wink, wink, and I promise you won't get it.
Right.
Do you cover all the strains? No, one. And we're guessing. So you said 27%. Well, Cleveland, not Sarah. Cleveland
right.
Clinic
Thank
said
you.
27% more likely to get the flu. That's a lot. That's above a quarter for those of you who can't count, right? 27% more likely to get. Why? Because they don't know what they don't know because they're practicing medicine. It's a practice. So let's give you a virus in the hope that maybe we guessed right of one of the 13 different strains of flu, and it only covers one, versus now it's, what is it, noro, voro, whatever virus, right? Mm-hmm. And we promise you, and then the racketeering scheme now by Walgreens, free flu shot. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Hey, there's no free lunch.
Not free.
Nothing free, baby.
Not free.
It's the taxpayer paying for it. You've already paid for it.
Or you're paying for it in your insurance premium.
I mean,
yeah.
It is a gigantic, the Medical Malpractice Institute is what I'm going to call it now in this country. This whole conglomerate cabal, right, of just siphoning money off of people by making them sick. They know it's going to make you sick. Mm-hmm. That's the whole premise. That's the purpose. Because they give you the shot in the same pharmacy. You come back 3 days later, and now you're buying Tamiflu.
Tamiflu. Yep. Don't take that either.
Don't take that either.
This doesn't constitute medical advice, but don't take that.
I mean, or now you're buying whatever, freaking Robitussin or Tylenol. It doesn't matter. It's a mechanism to siphon you dry. They're a bunch of leeches sucking blood. That's what they are.
You know, it's funny. I just pulled up a headline from NBC News in February, and the headline is, "Why is the flu so bad this year?" Experts cite several factors, including the strains in circulation, and it goes on to try to blame other factors, vaccination rates, and possible waning immunity. So they want to cite that not enough people are getting vaccinated, except now we have the report that came out that shows vaccination is actually making you more likely to get the freaking flu. Maybe that's why the flu is so freaking bad this year.
You know what study I want to see? I'm sorry.
No. I just remember this is in your child's childhood vaccination schedule from the CDC. Yeah, they are supposed to get this like once or twice a year, I believe.
The word Americans need to learn is NO. No.
Yeah.
Not doing it. Take that needle, stab yourself. Stab yourself with that needle. You're not nothing in my.
I think we just lost YouTube.
Okay. YouTube. Okay. Maybe the person moderating this on YouTube needs to learn that maybe they didn't have to get sick. You know the study I want to see? I want to see a study of the grade of flu, the intensity of the flu for those who were not vaccinated. If someone gets flu and they weren't vaccinated versus those who actually were vaccinated and the body produced a false antibody. An antibody that wasn't effective, and I guarantee you it's probably more intense. We'll see. That's my personal opinion. That's not the Cleveland Clinic. The Cleveland Clinic told you you're 27% more likely getting the flu when you take that.
Right.
Stab.
Which they would never know with me, because if we get sick, I'm like, I don't need to go to the doctor to get a flu test. No. We stay home, we get plenty of rest, and drink liquids.
The body that God made built the antibodies